Kael, a wanderer seasoned by countless sunrises and shadow-haunted nights, strode through an emerald valley, his pickaxe resting comfortably on his back. He had seen sprawling metropolises carved from obsidian, hidden jungle temples guarded by ancient traps, and nether fortresses teeming with blazes. Yet, as he approached a small village, nestled by a shimmering lake, a peculiar unease settled upon him. The village looked ordinary enough from a distance, its wooden houses quaint and its wheat fields golden in the late afternoon sun. But as Kael drew closer, the usual cacophony of Minecraftian life was conspicuously absent. There were no cheerful clucking chickens, no contented mooing cows, no playful baas from sheep. Even the wind seemed to hush as it swept through the empty pens. Villagers shuffled about, their arms folded, their expressive brows perpetually furrowed. They moved with a strange, hesitant gait, their usual emerald offerings held back, their trades reduced to a few desperate, low-value exchanges. Kael tried to engage them, holding out a handful of coal, but they merely averted their gaze, backing slowly away. Their usual friendly hums were replaced by a guttural, almost pained grunt, or a sharp shake of the head whenever Kael pointed towards the eastern edge of their territory. He noticed it then, a subtle shift in the landscape. To the east, the vibrant green of the valley faded into a sickly, desaturated hue. Trees stood with limbs unnaturally twisted, their leaves a muted, almost grayish green. The ground itself seemed to ripple, as if the very blocks struggled to hold their form. Smoke billowed from a lone chimney in that direction, yet no light shone from its windows, no sound emanated from within. Kael heard a distant, distorted bleating sound, then a sharp, almost digital pop, and silence. Curiosity, Kael's most defining trait, flared. He tried to question a cloaked librarian, offering a rare enchanted book. The villager's eyes widened, then quickly narrowed, and with a series of frantic hand gestures, it pointed emphatically towards the eastern anomaly, then made a wide, sweeping motion across its throat. The message was clear. Stay away. But Kael rarely stayed away. He spent a night observing from the edge of the village, watching the villagers huddle together, their lamps burning low, their eyes constantly darting east. No hostile mobs dared approach the village that night, not even the persistent groans of zombies or the hiss of creepers. It was as if something even more terrifying kept them at bay. At dawn, with a freshly crafted iron pickaxe and a stack of golden apples, Kael set off towards the cursed land. As he crossed an invisible threshold, the air grew thick, heavy, and strangely silent. His compass, a reliable guide through countless biomes, began to spin wildly, its needle twitching like a trapped insect. The sun, previously bright, now seemed to flicker, casting erratic shadows that danced and stretched with impossible angles. The ground beneath his feet felt strangely unstable. A block of dirt shimmered, then momentarily displayed the texture of netherrack before snapping back. A single tall oak tree stood before him, its trunk covered not in rough bark, but in smooth stone, while its leaves remained inexplicably green. Kael approached it, reaching out to touch the anomaly, but as his fingers neared, the stone trunk flickered, revealing the familiar oak bark, only to glitch back to stone. He continued deeper, his boots crunching on grass that seemed unnaturally stiff. Small animals, like rabbits and chickens, appeared to flicker in and out of existence, their forms briefly dissolving into a cascade of pixels, before reappearing a few steps away. A group of sheep grazed nearby, their wool a vibrant white. But as Kael watched, one of them suddenly expanded, its form stretching impossibly tall before shrinking back to normal. Then, with a soft pop, it vanished entirely. The other sheep continued to graze, seemingly oblivious. Kael's hunger bar began to fluctuate, dropping rapidly, then refilling itself partially, then dropping again. Despite his stomach feeling full, he ate a golden apple, and the familiar golden hearts appeared, but they too flickered, occasionally turning gray for a moment before regaining their luster. This place was actively destabilizing the very fabric of his reality. As he ventured further, the anomalies grew more pronounced. Water in a small stream flowed uphill for a moment before reversing course. A patch of flowers seemed to rearrange itself every few seconds, daisies becoming poppies, then dandelions. He heard the faint, distorted hiss of a creeper, but when he turned, nothing was there. He waited, pickaxe at the ready, but the sound never came again. He saw it then, a brief, fleeting shadow, taller than any he had seen before. An Enderman. It stood on a hill, 100 blocks away, facing Chunk 13, its lean, dark form perfectly still. Kael knew better than to make eye contact. The creature simply observed, then, with a soft, crackling teleportation sound, vanished. It appeared again moments later, closer this time, at the very edge of the corrupted chunk, its head tilted, as if listening to something only it could hear. Kael decided to explore the strange house with the smoking chimney. As he approached, a low, guttural moan echoed from within. He pushed open the wooden door, which groaned on its hinges. Inside, the house was dark, devoid of torches or any light source. The air was thick with a metallic tang. In the center of the room, on a crafting table, lay a single, peculiar item. It looked like an ordinary stick, but its texture shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow, constantly shifting and flowing. It hummed with a low, resonant frequency that vibrated through Kael's very bones. As he reached for it, the room around him distorted wildly. The walls stretched, the floor buckled, and for a terrifying moment, the ceiling seemed to invert, showing him the ground below. He quickly recoiled, the stick's powerful aura overwhelming. This was no ordinary cursed item. This was the source. As Kael stepped back, the Enderman from earlier teleported inside the house, directly behind the glitched stick. It didn't look at Kael, but at the stick, its head tilting again, its slender fingers reaching out. The moment its fingers brushed the stick, the Enderman recoiled, its form briefly turning transparent before solidifying. It then picked up a random block of dirt from the floor and teleported away, only to reappear outside, seemingly trying to place the dirt block on top of the chimney. But the block just kept disappearing and reappearing, never settling. The Enderman looked confused and then stared intensely at Chunk 13, as if trying to understand its own inability. Kael understood. The Enderman wasn't mischievous, it was trying to fix it. It was trying to manipulate the unstable blocks, perhaps even attempting to remove the corrupted stick, but the chunk's chaotic energy prevented it. The creature wasn't an agent of the curse, but a victim, trapped in its strange, chaotic embrace. Kael took a deep breath. He needed to be quick, precise. He still had a diamond pickaxe. Surely that would be enough. He rushed forward, ignoring the warping reality, the flickering light, the feeling of his own limbs temporarily desynchronizing. He swung his pickaxe at the shimmering stick. The moment the pickaxe connected, a searing wave of energy erupted from the stick. The world around Kael exploded in a chaotic symphony of glitching textures and deafening static. He saw flashes of the nether, the end, and even the deep dark, all at once. The floor beneath him vanished, then reappeared, studded with deep slate and glowing ore. He felt his very being pulled in multiple directions, as if he were about to be despondent to the void. He pressed harder, gritting his teeth, his arms burning. The stick resisted, vibrating violently, sending tremors through the house. The Enderman, still outside, let out a deep, echoing moan, its form stretching impossibly before snapping back to its normal size. It reached out its hand towards Kael, a gesture that seemed to be one of warning, or perhaps even encouragement. Then, with a final, explosive crack. The stick shattered into 1,000 glittering pixels that slowly dissolved into the air. The static faded. The flickering light stabilized. The ground stopped rippling. Kael stood panting, his pickaxe still raised, its diamond head glowing faintly. He looked around. The house was no longer distorted. The walls were solid wood, the floor plain oak. The air was clear, if a little dusty. He stepped outside. The sickly hues of Chunk 13 were gone. The trees stood tall and green, their leaves rustling gently in a normal breeze. The stream flowed steadily downhill. The compass in his hand spun for a moment, then settled, pointing north true. The Enderman stood on the hill, perfectly still. Kael looked at it, and this time, he didn't avert his gaze. The Enderman looked back, its purple eyes seeming to hold a flicker of acknowledgement. It gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. Then, with a soft whoosh, teleported away, disappearing into the restored landscape. Kael returned to the village. As he entered, a wave of sound washed over him. The familiar clucking of chickens, the distant mooing of cows, the happy baas of sheep. Villagers bustled about, their expressions open and friendly. A farmer waved to him, then quickly offered a generous trade for his surplus wheat. The librarian, the one who had warned him, approached Kael. It held out an enchanted book, its eyes filled with a profound gratitude. It didn't speak, but its silent gesture was louder than any words. Kael took the book, a feeling of deep satisfaction washing over him. The curse of
Kael,
Chunk 13
a wanderer
was broken.
Seasoned by countless
The world had
sunrises
reset,
and shadow-haunted
but the
nights.
memory of its brief,
strode through an
terrifying
emerald
corruption
valley.
lingered.
His pickaxe
A
resting
testament
comfortably
to the
on his back.
strange, unpredictable
Sprawling
forces that lay
metropolises
hidden
carved
beneath
from
the
obsidian,
seemingly simple,
hidden jungle
blocky
temples
landscape.
guarded by ancient traps,
Kael, the
and
adventurer,
nether fortresses
simply
teeming
smiled.
with blazes. There would be
Yet,
other mysteries.
as he approached a
other
small
chunks
village
to explore.
nestled by a
But for
shimmering
now,
lake, the quiet hum of a
peculiar
restored
unease
village
settled
was
upon
music
him.
to his ears. The village looked ordinary enough from a distance, its wooden houses quaint